Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful May the 8th, 2019, Grando Deportes, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, is hot and sweaty down here. I have to put towels under my armpits just to keep the water from running down. I thought it was raining earlier when I walked outside. But on a more serious note, Charlton, I want to address an issue that I wish our administration and our politicians would address.
Yeah.
Once again, yesterday in Colorado, we suffered another school shooting here in America. You know, when we talk about the feeder system of our sports in the United States, it generally comes from the high school. The collegiates, you know, from high school to college, from college to professional.
Yeah.
But these young people, Charlton, are losing their lives at an alarming rate by disgruntled white students. And I couldn't help but think, Charlton, if this was another race of students that they were shooting up these high schools, they would have some political stances on it, Charlton. But they've all been disgruntled white males that have gone into these schools and shot up the students that are there to get an education.
Yeah.
Parents send their children to school thinking that they're safe, that they're going to get an education. I know that's what I did with mine.
Yeah.
I felt that they had a sanctuary when they were at school, that they did not have to worry about violence,
right,
that they could concentrate on education. But as we hear the president talk about rapists and murderers coming across the southern border and horrific crimes that are being created by these people that we're not seeing on the news nightly, Charlton.
Yeah.
But we're seeing these school shootings at too alarming of a rate. We had 318 school shootings in the year of 2018. We're here in 2019, Charlton, and it doesn't seem to slow down. Over the last 3 weeks, we've had school shootings, mass shootings at universities and high schools. And yet the president says nothing about it. Gun reform says nothing about it. The NRA says nothing about it. When you read the Constitution, it's about protecting America against tyranny, not having AR-57 and automatic pistols and rifles, Charlton, that you can walk in and murder your fellow students in a school because you're disgruntled about something, Charlton.
Yeah.
And you know, they're hidden through the media. The thing that bothers me the most is that they don't show their face. They say, well, they're minors. But they're committing adult crimes.
Yeah.
Show who they are. Don't protect them under the minor law because they walked in and killed other people, Charlton, that no longer have a chance to achieve their dreams. And families are suffering across America every day because of these disgruntled young white males who go into schools and shoot them up.
Hopefully we'll have more attention given on how to fix that problem. I know it's a challenge because it's been going on a long time. Still our thoughts and prayers with all the people who are dealing with the pain of what just happened. So hopefully we can have more public conversation about that. I do want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. Public safety is always #1. I know we hope that we can have that wrapped up somehow in the next couple of years. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. But I do want to focus on just some of the things that are happening in the world of sports, you know, whether it's NBA basketball. Of course, it's just fantastic, Big C. And I know that maybe some of the issues that are being affected up in Colorado, maybe the Nuggets can take a lot of maybe some public service time and maybe put their voices out about how things can happen and fix that. Portland's on the ropes, we know that. Philadelphia's on the ropes. And if you think about teams being on the ropes, Boston is definitely on the ropes. There's a lot of good things happening in the world of sports. And you look at Golden State and Houston, there's just a lot of people that are saying, Houston, you know, we have a problem or we have liftoff. Either way, we're going to find out tonight. I want to get your thoughts real quick as we look at what happened in the world of the NBA. And we'll start today in Los Angeles with the Lakers talking about maybe bringing on Tyronn Lue. Then I guess they didn't agree on some things that are important to both sides. and they decide to walk away from that in the negotiations. Now, maybe Jason Kidd there's always somebody. Who do you think can fix that dysfunctional situation in LA, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, it's a dysfunctional situation that's not going to get any better, Charlton. When you look at the Lakers organization, everybody put all the promise that this team would turn it around, Charlton, but they don't have the personnel to turn it around. But then you think about how management handled Tyronn Lue.
Yeah.
You look at any qualified NBA coach out there, who has a better pedigree than Tyronn Lue, who went to 3 consecutive NBA championship rounds, Charlton, and also won an NBA title. Where will you find it? The only other coach out there that's not coaching with that type of pedigree would be Phil Jackson, to have gone to that many finals, Charlton. But Tyronn Lue was discredited by the Lakers organization, lowballing him, I'm going to say, in an offer, and probably trying to pick the assistant coaching staff that he had. Because I could not think of any other reason why this deal would not have been consummated. But to go out there and look at Tyronn Lue, who is part of the Laker family, when you think about it, his career, he has 2 championship rings as a player with the Lakers. And not to be able to do this deal to say, okay, we're going to go out there and find a better scenario than Tyronn Lue and bring him into this organization. He has the relationship with LeBron James, so he understands the mentality of LeBron. You're going to bring somebody in who doesn't have a strong enough attitude and demeanor to deal with LeBron. How is this organization going to get any better anytime soon, Charles?
Yeah, and you think about LeBron James, King James. We know everybody's going to try to appease LeBron. LeBron has 3 championships. They all came with people who were affiliated with the LA Lakers, and Pat Riley when he was with the Miami Heat, and then Tyronn Lue, who also played for the Lakers. We know Pat Riley led the Lakers back in Showtime, and they had a team that did it. They repeated.
He was also a player with the
Lakers. So, and we talk about Phil Jackson. He has, several championship rings, Infinity Stones with the LA Lakers. So if you look at that, the common denominator is Jeanie Buss and Magic out of there. And I think we're starting to see more why Magic got out. Remember that movie said Get Out, and people say, why do they keep trying to stay in the house? Magic got out, Big C. There's something about people and egos that maybe the public doesn't know. But it's like the finishing of a puzzle. Tyronn Lue looks like he's the perfect finishing piece for that puzzle. We just talked about his lineage. We just talked about Pat Riley having a championship with that Laker team. And the same thing with Tyronn Lue. And now they can't pull the trigger. Why is that? What's really going on in your thoughts, Big C?
Well, when you look at the California franchises that the kids have inherited over time. Look at Mark Davis in Oakland. Look at what he's done to the Raiders organization in getting rid of coaches and dismantling that organization. You look at the Buss children down in LA, in Los Angeles, Jim and Jeanie. How they've dismantled what their father had once built as a proud heritage organization in Los Angeles and in the NBA. For some reason, these kids have egos, but they don't understand what their fathers have built. Jeanie Buss, when Phil Jackson was there, he had to run an organization. But there was a reason why Phil left. It wasn't that the Lakers could no longer produce. It comes to it from a management perspective. That people are meddling in and saying, well, I know what's best for my team. You're the owner, so you have the right to say that. Can you deal with the mentality of the modern NBA player? That is the difference. When you look at that professional athlete of today versus the professional athlete, Charlton, of 15, 20 years ago, it's a completely different composite mentally of how everything is structured with these athletes. They are businessmen now. They are not just players that say, hey, that they're worried about keeping a job. Most of their contracts are structured where you got to pay them whether you keep them or cut them. So this is how players are looking at things. But you have to find a coach that can coexist with these players, that understand the players. I know there's a lot of talk out there of bringing guys in who haven't coached, but you got to also look at that. Even though they're former players, how much of established, mantra are they going to have over these current rosters? And especially the young players who watch these guys growing up and say, okay, they're going to come in and change the mindset of these young guys. We've seen that babysitting has now become part of an NBA's head coaching job. When guys are only doing 1 year in college, you're giving them millions of dollars and saying, go out there and act like a grown man. Charlton, they're still growing up. They still want to do all the things that a teenager and a college student does. and not have the responsibility of being a professional athlete.
Has anyone thought about, and it's easy to toss names around because I can't find anyone better than Tyronn Lue. He's won a championship. I know let's talk about Mark Jackson. He's not a Laker. You talk about all the, Byron Scott. He was a Laker. He has part of that Showtime legacy. But even Byron Scott doesn't have a championship. He coached New Jersey Nets to a championship game around, and they lost to the Lakers. So if you can't get Tyronn Lue in there, it's simply this. You're trying to find somebody that would not usurp the power of Jeannie Buss. You can't say LeBron James. People should stop saying it's LeBron's fault. It's not his fault. As you just mentioned, the great Phil Jackson left. LeBron wasn't there when Phil Jackson left. He decided to step down.
Well, think about the coaches that are left. Magic Johnson's been a coach there. Kurt Rambis been a coach there. Phil Jackson's been a coach there.
Yeah.
They have run coaches out of Los Angeles without having productivity.
Yeah.
And it comes down when you're coaching, it comes down between you, management, and philosophy.
Yeah.
And so everybody wanted to blame Magic for walking out. Magic didn't even tell his wife he was leaving. He decided, hey, I don't want to be in this any longer.
Yeah.
Because I'm becoming the dartboard for everybody to throw at, regardless of what's going on with the Lakers. If there's a botched trade, it's my fault. If players are not playing well, it's my fault. Everyone looked at Magic because Magic was the marquee name.
Yeah.
And so everybody could attack Magic. And Magic is a grown man, a professional businessman.
Yeah.
He no longer needed that headache. You think about he's running the Dodgers. There's never a Magic name thrown up when the Dodgers are in a slump.
No.
When the Dodgers are struggling, nobody's sitting there saying, well, it's Magic's fault.
Right.
Magic botched this. They don't say that. So Magic was comfortable in his other domain. He did not need the spotlight of he's one of the all-time greats to play in that game.
Yeah.
Championship-wise, Charlton, he has that pedigree. But, when everybody wanted to blame him for the players that are playing now versus the players that played with him 30 years ago, Charlton, he didn't need that in his life any longer.
No, he didn't. So let me ask you this question, and I know people will say that they want to keep this hush-hush behind closed doors, but the Lakers they're really LA's team. You can go anywhere you go into the LA basin. You got the Dodgers, you got the Rams now, you got the Stars, but it's Dodgers and it's the Angels. But all of it's ancillary to what happens with the LA Lakers. So when you look at Buss, and I'm not talking about someone buying out the owner. That's just like Dolan over in New York. No one's going to buy out the owner. But what advice, and maybe we can't give her any advice. If Magic can't give her advice and he has 5 Infinity Stones on his hands, how can anybody say anything to her about stepping back and hire a GM to do the work? That make any sense, your thoughts?
Well, it's two parts, Charlton. You got Rob Pelinka as well as Jeannie Buss. You have these two entities that have egos. That's the biggest problem. You have to understand, everybody in professional sports is going to get paid. The coach, the players, all of that.
Yeah.
But it's about working with somebody, and you have somebody who's behind the scene who is trying to make the decisions, who's trying to circumvent the head coach, take the power out of the coach. They want to have the final say-so in decisions. It's like what Bill Parcells said when he was coaching the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
If you're going to make me cook the meal, at least let me buy some of the groceries.
Buy some of the groceries.
And that's what Bill Parcells told Jerry Jones, and he walked away because Jerry Jones wanted to do all the wheeling and dealing and just tell Bill Parcells to coach him.
Right.
The thing about coaching is that you have to be able to put together all of these different professional mentalities.
Yeah.
You got to find grown men that can work well together. And that's what everybody's not understanding. I'll give you a perfect example. What's about to come up, the NFL season.
Yeah.
Everybody's been raving over the Cleveland Browns all season about the acquisitions that they've made offensively.
Yeah.
The thing about football, on defense, you got 11 guys running, attacking a football. It's real simple. There's no egos involved when you're on defense. You can take a bunch of misfits, and Al Davis used to do that
all the time
with the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah.
He took all the misfits that nobody wanted and put them on defense.
Yep.
He never made a big splash in offensive free agency. Al Davis never did. He always brought in the disgruntled defensive players that nobody else wanted.
Yeah.
What did they do? They just won, baby. That's all they did. They just won.
Yeah.
Because all they do, you got 11 guys attacking one football. You flip that to the opposite side in Cleveland's offense. Everybody talks about how they've stockpiled offensive talent.
Yeah.
You stockpile a lot of offensive talent, but you stockpile a lot of egos.
Yeah.
And you got one football that all these egos want to put their hands on.
Yeah.
You got 7 guys that want to touch this football on offense. It's not enough footballs to go around, Charles.
Yeah.
That's why when you have these 7-on-7 drills, everybody can't touch it.
No.
So you got to take touches away from somebody for somebody else to have it. And that's going to be the problem with the Cleveland Browns. They're not going to be the great team that everybody thinks they're going to be. They're going to be lucky to be a 500 team.
Yeah.
Now let's transgress that back into basketball. This is what we're looking at with the Lakers. Everybody's saying, okay, LeBron is the king. We know LeBron is legitimate.
Yeah.
His statistics were not down this year compared to what they had been in Cleveland. But the lack of talent around LeBron, you have salary cap implications in the NBA.
Yeah.
You can't always move contracts and bring players in. That's why when they brought in all those veterans, they were on one-year minimal contracts because they wanted to have an opportunity.
Yeah.
Because you got all this money tied up in these young players that are not producing. And then they all got butthurt when they started talking about this Anthony Davis trade.
Yeah.
All of them wanted the little bottle to go suck on in the corner. They didn't want to play basketball.
Right.
They got that childish mentality because they didn't have that college education to understand this is a business. And when they say it's time to move, it's time to move. And that's the problem with the Lakers. The nucleus of players that they have now.
Yeah.
They can never win with them. They have to disband half of this roster, and I'm talking about of the young players, if they expect to be successful in the future.
Yeah, finding a new coach is not going to really make a difference if you have the same "you can't tell me what to do" mentality. And I know that everybody has to decide that. I want to bounce the ball up to the Northeast now. You have, and this city is also, I won't say they're like the LA Lakers. The media intensity in LA is really hotter for the Lakers than any other franchise. But I look at the Philadelphia 76ers. This great franchise, Dr. J's team, they suffered one of the worst losses in franchise postseason history, 125-89 defeat by the Toronto Raptors on Tuesday night, and the Raptors take a 3-2 lead in the Eastern Conference semifinals. It's not just that they lost. They were like Conor McGregor versus Floyd Money Mayweather. He couldn't get his legs under him anymore. You know, McGregor couldn't even throw a punch against Mayweather. And it looked like Philadelphia was having a hard time finding the will to even want to compete. Is that how you see it, Big C, or no? Your thoughts?
Well, you know, I'm going to take Joel Embiid at his word that he was ill. You know, he's been suffering through some type of illness throughout the playoffs here, Charlton. And you can't force a player when he's ill to go out and give you 100%.
Yeah. Because
the body's just not willing. But one of the problems that the 76ers are having, Charlton, is that they lack the outside shot.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at Ben Simmons and when Joel Embiid and he are both in the lineup, you have two post players technically. You think about the game that, you know, Embiid missed in the first round of the playoffs, how Ben Simmons dominated inside.
Yeah.
He is a point guard without a jump shot. So he's half of a basketball player.
Yeah.
He can handle the ball, he can back anybody down, Charlton. But when you have Joel Embiid inside, now you can double team Ben Simmons quite easily because that other big man is sitting in the paint.
Yeah.
So that hurts Philadelphia offense. They're not employing their shooters here in the playoffs. Embiid has just struggled. He struggled up and down. But everybody is not looking at, he's not accustomed to playing basketball at this time of the year. He's not accustomed to playing this many games during a season, Charlton.
Yeah.
So his body is not conditioned to go this length. But when you go into a game versus Toronto, who's just been shooting the lights out, and Kawhi Leonard, you know, has just been outstanding in this Eastern Conference series, Charlton.
Yeah.
He's taken the Raptors to a new height. They're just a better team, man for man, right now in Toronto than what you have in Philadelphia. I know everybody's talked about trusting the process.
Yeah.
You got these young legs. But sometimes it's like that old bull, young bull theory. You know, let's run down the hill and have a little fun. And the old bull said, let's walk down there and have a little more fun. And that's what Toronto is doing. When you look at the veteran leadership of that team, they've been there. These guys have been in the playoffs. They're battle-tested, Charlton. You know, even though they got knocked out as an organization in the first round last year, it wasn't that long ago they were in the Eastern Final. So this is a team that has come back with a lot of lore. And when you think about the best two teams in the NBA right now, got to be the Milwaukee Bucks and the Toronto Raptors the way they're playing.
Yeah, I really think that Kawhi Leonard was booed down in San Antonio when he left. And why would you leave a team that Greg Popov's coaching? I don't know. But I do know one thing.
What do you think about leaving Texas, period? No state taxes? They had to do something. You gave up millions of dollars to leave that organization and not pay state taxes. You could have been like the president.
Well, the Underground Railroad have maybe there's something up in Canada. Maybe the honey is sweeter in Canada. Do they eat meat in Canada? They eat everything that walks around on four legs in Canada the way they do in Texas. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they got those polar bears and muskox up there and all those things up there in the Great White North.
Yep.
Penguins.
Maybe the food is
Who
better.
knows what they're eating?
So with that being said, Philadelphia, there is no Rocky. There is no one saying, Adrian, or cut me, Mick. They need that Rocky. They need something from Rocky. They need to reach dig inside. When Rocky fought Apollo Creed, you know by eyesight, just an eye test, there's no way Rocky could have beaten Apollo Creed. But when the movie's made by the guy who's going to start the fight, they see that maybe he gets a chance to win somehow. But is Philly done with trusting that process? There's even some foolish comments I hear about trade Joel Embiid. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's not about not trusting the process. As I said, you have a point guard without an outside shot.
Yeah.
When you look at all the teams in the NBA, this is the only team with a point guard that doesn't have a jump shot.
Yeah.
And so you limit your offense. You can run an offense through him, Charlton.
Yeah.
But by having a big man in the middle, you take away half of his game.
Yeah.
Because he's used to posting up down on the blocks, Charlton. Both of them need to be down there.
Yeah.
So maybe they need to look at a point guard in the draft and move Ben Simmons off the point. I know he's a tremendous ball handler.
Yeah.
But right now, he's an Achilles heels to this Philadelphia offense. You know, Jimmy Butler is the shooting guard in this offense. But when Ben Simmons is handling the ball majority of the time,
yeah,
you take away shots from all the shooters.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, when we look at another organization, because basketball and anything in life, it's like, I think somebody said I think it was the great Vin Scully, when they say, well, a pitcher is day to day, and we don't know if we're going to get the most out of him. And Vin Scully said, aren't we all day to day? Big C, there's no guarantee for anything in life other than just what you believe in. So when we swing the ball up to Denver, up to Colorado, and hopefully they can provide some type of, pain relief for everything that state's going through with not having gun control laws in the United States. The Denver Nuggets, they ran past the Portland Trailblazers in Game 5, 124-98, led by Jokic and also Millsap. Now they take a 3-2 lead in that series. And I thought, and when you had that 3 overtime game up in Portland, and that didn't go the way that everybody wanted it to go for Portland, they thought they could get out of there with a 2-1 coming back. But it was coming back. It's 2-2. Now it's a 3-2 deal, and it surely looks like a puncher. They survived a punch, and they're able to get the knockout punch last night to Portland. Do you feel like that series is over, or is it just one game? Your thoughts?
Charlton, I feel that series is over, but I want to touch on one other point about that school shooting.
Yeah.
You think about right now in Colorado, there are 3 professional organizations that are playing.
Yeah.
You have the Colorado Avalanche, the Denver Nuggets, and the Colorado Rockies all playing in that great city of Denver.
Yeah.
What if that disgruntled white kid had walked into one of these professional sporting events, Charlton, with that gun instead of walking into a school? How would society look at him then if he went into a sporting arena and started assassinating people?
Well,
Would America at some point raise up their head and say, we got to do something against this gun violence? But back to the point of the game, Charlton, with the Denver Nuggets and the Portland Trailblazers. The Portland Trailblazers right now, Charlton, are in the bottom of a well looking up.
Yeah.
Because when you look at what Denver has been able to do offensively, when you talk about a player with a complete game, you think about Jokic.
Yeah.
He had a quiet double-double in this last game, 25 points and 16 rebounds. And it was like he was doing nothing.
Yeah.
That's how, balanced of a player that he is. And he doesn't get recognized by the rest of the NBA media and the rest of the United States media because he's playing in Denver.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he's white. He's the best white player in the NBA, even though he's European.
Yeah.
He's the best white player in the NBA. I mean, if you look at him statistically,
his numbers are great.
He's equal to Larry Bird when Larry was playing, but Larry was playing in Boston, getting those type of numbers. Jokic is in Denver, Dan Issel territory.
Yeah.
And he reminds me so much of Dan Issel. Dan was 6'9" out of Kentucky, and that same type of offensive prowess that Jokic has. But he's that dominant player, Charlton. He's the greatest passing big man in the NBA right now, and that's what makes this team so balanced. You don't always have to rely on the point guard Murray because Jokic can get it to the open man.
Well, we know he does a good job just making basketball relevant again. They really haven't had relevancy in Denver for basketball since the great Carmelo Anthony bounced out of there and took his took his act on the road. So Denver, they're a force to be reckoned with. I thought Portland would get them, but I don't think Portland thought as much, Big C. I want to get to the series tonight that's in Northern California, in the Bay Area, in Oakland. And this is interesting because the Golden State Warriors, they're the land of vibranium, all the land of milk and honey, everybody wants to come to California for it's by the Pacific Ocean. It just has so many things to offer. And when you look at the Golden State Warriors, they've always run this race. Unlike Usain Bolt, they've always been in the driver's seat over the last 4 seasons and winning 3 championships. And 4 seasons they've had that. They were up 2-0 over Houston. And we know about prop bettings, we know about fake flopping and all that. I feel this way. If Houston is able to play football, like Steve Kerr said, and why he didn't get up in the official's face about it, but he had a press conference, I'm still baffled. If you think that Houston's playing football and they're beating up Steph Curry, and the man has bruises, but he's not having fouls called against anybody who's grabbing him and pushing him and bumping into him, but every time you touch Houston, they call a foul. You got to get the same. If someone can Google who's getting the most fouls called, if Golden State's allowed to play the game where their shooters can play, and they get the benefit of the home call like Houston does, then they'll most likely win. But if Kerr sits on the sideline passively and allows what he says with his own words, Houston to play football and the Warriors to play track, they might go down 3-2 tonight at home. Your thoughts?
Well, they won the series against Golden State during the regular season at Oracle Arena.
Yeah.
But Houston has been the more physical team in this series. I mean, I've seen several shots where Steph Curry was knocked out of bounds taking a 3-point shot, and no call was filed against the Houston defender.
They didn't see it.
But, this is what has happened in this series. This is the balancing act of this series. I mean, but also Houston is outshot Golden State from the three-point arc.
Yeah.
Normally we see Golden State dominating teams from the three-point range, but Houston is outscored. They scored 72 points, outscored them by 72 points from the arc. So Golden State has not had their shot at home or on the road. Steph Curry started out outstanding in the last game. 11 points in the first quarter, but he went absolutely cold after that. And late in the game, they couldn't hit shots. But Houston is getting to the paint. I know you talked about Boogie Cousins would slow down the Warriors team. Maybe that's what they need, is somebody to slow down their offense. If he was in the paint, Charlton, they wouldn't have all those dribble penetrations, and they would have a stopper in the middle. But right now, Golden State doesn't have a defensive answer for what Houston is doing. There's no answer for Quinn Capella. He's a complete mismatch. Who do you put on him? You can't put Kevin Durant on him. Now you have Kevin Durant stuck down in the paint, and he's going to potentially end up in foul trouble. Draymond Green is too short to handle him, as well as Iguodala. So you have the mismatch right there. You got the great shooters out on the arc. So, I mean, Houston has 4 guys that can knock down the 3 at any point.
Well, I think from what I'm hearing, coming out of Vegas, when you look at the season, Golden State averaged 118 points a game. Houston averaged 114. When you look at the field goals, Golden State, they shot 49%. Houston shot 45. In 3-point percentage, Golden State was shooting 39%. Houston was shooting at 36%. And the free throw percentage, Golden State shooting 80, and Houston shooting 79. When you look at the assists, 29 compared to 21 in favor of Golden State. And then the rebounding, 46 to 42 for Golden State, and then block shots 6.4 a game to 5 a game. So the numbers lead to a Golden State. I think the key tonight, Big C, and we talked about it before, not even being flippant. If Houston's allowed to do what Steve Kerr said, and he sat on the bench while he saw this football game happening against his track team, you got to get in the ref's face if they're not giving your guys foul calls. You just mentioned there are times Steph Curry's going to the basket being knocked down, but you touch Chris Paul, they call a foul because he flops. So the over-under on Chris Paul and Harden flopping tonight, my guy from Vegas said they're going to flop more than 10 times. But if it's not called, then Golden State's going to win this game just because they're going to have a better shooting performance at home. Do you buy that? If the flop is given a foul, when it's really just what you call flopping, that gives you another swing of maybe 10 points in the game, Big C. Did you buy that thinking? Your thoughts?
Well, the thing is, if they're going to shoot the ball from outside, you got to let them have the shot. NBA shooters are professional shooters. They can hit from the arc. But the problem is Steph Curry is only shooting 26% from the three-point arc in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So his numbers are down by 20%, Charlton, in the game, and that's the difference in the scores. I mean, if he knocks down 2 or 3 more three-point shots, Charlton, that's the difference in the outcome of the game when you look at the point spread in the last 2 games that Houston have won.
Yeah.
So the Warriors have been their own Achilles heel by having this sluggish shooting on the outside. You know that Houston is going to flop. We've seen it all game long, all year long.
Yeah.
Even the announcers talk about it. This is what they do. The officials know what they do, but the officials allow it. You can't allow players to flop and give them the call.
Yeah.
But that's what the officials are doing, and they're not calling it the games evenly.
Yeah, and I'd hate to see if you're Houston, they got to play bully ball. If you're Golden State, you got to be finesse, and Kerr have to call when that's happening to them.
Charlton.
Yeah.
If the officials are not calling the penalties and you're being physical, why stop being physical?
And that's on Steve Kerr.
You do what you do until the officials alter that.
I agree.
So if I'm Houston, I'm going to stay physical because they're not calling the fouls against them.
And that's where Steve Kerr has to get up and earn that money. And I think that's fair. Everybody's excited about basketball in Northern California, the Golden State. But what we're going to do, Big C, is we're going to come up with what we call the Big C pause. We're going to take the Big C pause, and we'll come right back in just a moment. All right, Big C, we were back in the saddle again in Northern California, Big C Sports. I'm looking forward to so much that's happening tonight in the world of NBA basketball. I know it's exciting, but I also want to bring up, if you look at Northern California, in the last, say, 3 years, they showed the new Chase Center in San Francisco. It's gorgeous. Between Sacramento and Oakland, about 90 miles apart. I believe Golden One Center cost about $550 million, somewhere in there. Chase Center is believed to be about $2 billion, and it's right on the water. Obviously, can't even compare the locations. But if you think about that, in the last 3 years, Big C, we've had nearly $3 billion of arenas built, and the total capacity for combined is less than 40,000. That's $3 billion less than 40,000 seats. There's a lot of money, and at the same time, they're pricing out some of the fans. I know people may not see that because you have a winning team. Give me your feelings on $3 billion for less than 40,000 seats anywhere, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that's the going rate in professional sports, and you have corporate sponsorships that will offset a lot of those dollars. But when you compare the two cities, you say they're 90 miles apart.
Yeah.
What's the attraction for an NBA free agent to come to Sacramento? There's really none. So you have to build that organization through the draft. I mean, there's no beach in Sacramento. There's no nightlife like you have in Los Angeles or San Francisco.
Right.
So this is the team that's always going to struggle there, Charlton. If they don't get players through the draft, you can't attract a big-time free agency to a city that really has no amenities. It's only the state capital.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, the city by the bay, San Francisco, has always been one of the more eclectic, attractive cities in the United States that everybody wants to go to, just like Los Angeles. When you say California, there are two names that pop up, Los Angeles and San Francisco.
Yeah.
And you think about how gorgeous a city that San Diego is, it doesn't even come up on the radar.
No, it doesn't.
So when you think about the money and the price of limited real estate in San Francisco, you can understand the price of the Chase Center there, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's prime real estate. I mean, there's no extra dirt in San Francisco on that island.
No.
So everything is going to cost more over there.
Yeah.
And when you look at where it sits, it's sitting on the water like the Pac Bell Stadium, I guess the Giant, whatever the name of the Giant
now.
Stadium is.
It's called Oracle now, Big C.
Well, it was originally Pac Bell Stadium.
Yeah.
When they built that stadium, Charlton, decades ago.
Yeah.
But as you look in any major metropolitan area, have you ever tried to park downtown in any major metropolitan area?
Oh, yeah, it's difficult.
Where you're paying $25, $30 an hour to park?
Yeah.
So they're going to charge you to come in to watch a sporting event, Charlton.
Yeah.
But they build these stadiums and arenas in high-priced areas. You think about 50 years ago, Charlton, when they would build a stadium in the United States, they would go to a lower-income area of town.
Yeah.
They would generally go into a warehouse district and buy up old land, Charlton, that was no longer productive.
Yeah.
And build stadiums in those areas. Now, people don't want to be inconvenienced like that, Charlton, so they said put it in prime areas where we have law enforcement and everything else. We have shops around, because sporting events now are more than the game. Fans want the restaurant experience. They want the bar experience outside of the venue. And so all of those things add to the cost of these new arenas going up by having to put them in prime real estate.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, and it's just gorgeous right there in the Bay. I want to get on a little bit of ice. I know you guys use a lot of ice down south, and I was wondering why you guys use so much ice. It's because it's hot and humid, Big C. It was so hot, I think even Dabu Sweetie was up in Toronto watching Philadelphia and the Raptors play. But in the NHL, hockey once again, a series going Game 7, Colorado Avalanche and the San Jose Sharks will be decided tonight. A 4-3 overtime win by the Avalanche in Game 6. I love Game 7, and I'm sure the NBA would love a Game 7 with all their matchups, Big C. But hockey's actually bringing it to us, and it's a Bay Area team doing it in the San Jose Sharks in Colorado. Again, I think about that 5-minute power play, and that's why the Sharks are still alive. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about the excitement of NHL hockey and how a game ends in overtime, you think about basketball, you get overtime, you got a 5-minute period in NBA overtime. In hockey, you have sudden death. First team that scores, it's all over with. That's what the excitement and the intensity that the NHL playoffs have brought this year. When you think about the number of overtime games, Charlton, that have extended series, it's been fantastic. I know that's the terminology that the NBA uses.
Yeah, it is.
But hockey has stolen that mantra here in the postseason, Charlton, because we've seen so many nail-biting overtime games in hockey, Charlton, that's been decided by that one goal. We saw that last night, that the fighting around the net, all of a sudden, pow, it's popped in, game's over. It's not about, okay, let me come down, see if I can knock down a 3. It's over, and that's what sports should be. It should be concise. We can't prolong things. I know we had that in NFL playoffs last year, in overtime. You think about that in both conferences. They went into overtime to decide getting to the Super Bowl. The Stanley Cup race, Charlton, has had many overtime games in all of these series, and it's just been great for hockey.
Yeah, and that series is already underway in San Jose. Again, if you're in San Jose, that's considered the south part of the Bay Area, the South Bay, which the population in San Jose is larger than the population in San Francisco. So with Golden State in town and San Jose in town, there's a lot of money going into NBA events, and I'm sure that Game 7 for NHL would seem to be more exciting, but there's still more TV and radio interest in Golden State and Houston. It's amazing what happens. In Oakland last night, you have the A's pitcher Mike Ferris. He joined Max Scherzer and Jake Arrieta, Justin Verlander, and Homer Bailey as active pitchers with 2 no-hitters and a 3-0 shutout over the Cincinnati Reds. But this was remarkable in other regards, Big C. I think 11,000 people saw it, and I just want to get your thoughts on that, your figures.
Well, not only that, Charlton, they had a 95-minute delay in that game because of weather. The lights had gone out in the Coliseum, so they decided to play the game after they got the lights turned back on. But you talk about that, 11,000 fans, at a game, Charlton. That's half the fans that they're going to have at Oracle Arena tonight for the basketball game. Were able to witness a no-hitter, Charlton, in a Major League Baseball just across the parking lot. That just shows the state of Major League Baseball where it is right now, Charlton. You're going to have to do something to jumpstart the attendance. The NHL is outdrawing Major League Baseball. The NBA is outdrawing Major League Baseball. But to have a historical night there in Oakland and only have 11,000 patrons, that's the announce crowd. Who knows, after the lightning strike and the power had gone out, Charlton, that may have been only half of that had showed up. I don't think there was more than 5,000 people in the stadium last night watching this no-hitter.
It's amazing. Even with that fan base, they've convinced Alameda County that they need a new stadium. Like I said, $3 billion between Sacramento and San Francisco and new stadiums in the last 3 years. When you add the cost of the stadium for Oakland for the baseball, I'm sure that's going to cost about $1 billion with Bay Area real estate.
Charlton, think about Sacramento. Since they moved from Sacramento from Kansas City, they moved into an original small arena out there.
11,000. About 11,000 before Arco Arena was built.
Arco Arena was built, and so what have they done with Arco Arena? Arco Arena was not dilapidated.
It was gorgeous.
It was 20 years old. And they felt that it was no longer useful, so they moved from Arco Arena to downtown. But that's what I was meaning about the price of real estate. Arco Arena was built out in the middle of nowhere. And so they felt that was inconvenient to the fans.
Yeah.
You know, all they had was a basketball game to think of attend.
Yeah.
There was no shopping mall. There was no restaurants around the place. So you could only go there for the event, and you had to leave.
Yeah.
Now that you put that arena downtown, the Golden One Arena downtown,
it's beautiful.
Look at all that surrounds that arena.
Yeah.
You have shopping. You have restaurants. You have security around Charleston.
Yeah.
The fan wanted to feel that they were in a safe environment, that they had more than just a basketball game to go to.
Yeah.
And that's what these cities are providing now. When you look around the country, Charleston, at all these major arenas, they are all sitting downtown. They're no longer out in the middle of nowhere with a lot of parking.
Yeah, and even with Sacramento, they built it closer to the water, downtown by the mall. It's just a great location. There's a lot of money poured into it. You'll see the same thing in San Francisco. You'll see the same thing in Oakland. I just feel that they've started pricing. They priced out a lot of fans, but that's just part of a rich man's game. I want to just get your thoughts, too, on baseball before we get into a little bit of football, because I want to get your thoughts on some football. I saw that Clemson is playing the Citadel in football. They just won the national championship, and Alabama's playing New Mexico State. Big C. You talk about loading up in baseball. There's a heated battle going on in the National League for MVP. Cody Bellinger of the Dodgers, and also Christian Yelich of the Brewers. Now you look at Bellinger, he's at 14 home runs, 38 RBIs, and Yelich has 15 home runs and 36 RBIs. These two guys are balling, but they were not some of the players that were mentioned about breaking the bank when it came to contract. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I don't think that you could pay them if they were in the free agent market right now. And you look at the free agents that, this past year getting those $300 million contracts.
Yeah.
That you have two guys, Charlton, that's batting over 340. Both of these guys. Yelich is about, I believe he's batting 342, and Bellinger's around 354. You compare that batting average to a Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper's batting like 220.
Yeah.
220. He's batting half, basically a third of what these guys are batting.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the home run or the RBI statistics, Charles.
He got one
and
grand slam last night.
He's struggling because he's with a new team. I think, regardless of which team you're at, I think the baseball is the same size.
Last I checked, unless you're in Texas, I think it's a bit smaller in Texas.
and you're playing on the same diamond dimensions. I think it's 90 feet between all the base paths.
Allegedly.
In baseball.
Yeah.
And I think about Christian Yelich last year, Charlton, who came over from the Florida Marlins prior to arriving in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
It didn't bother him at all. He went on to win the National League MVP last year.
Yeah.
There were no struggles with him adjusting to a new franchise.
No.
Not only that, took them to within one game of getting to the World Series.
Yep.
So when people are starting to make excuses for today's big money contracts, not superstars, big money contracts, saying that they need to adjust to their new team.
Yeah.
When you're standing there playing baseball, it's a one-on-one contest. It's you versus the pitcher, a guy that you've seen before in your career.
Yep.
So there's nothing new. If you couldn't hit him before, you're not going to hit him now.
No, you're not going to hit him now if you could hit him before. So tonight's Major League Baseball schedule is in full swing. We have the New York Mets at San Diego, the Padres, Philadelphia at St. Louis. You have Washington at Milwaukee, Arizona at Tampa Bay, Texas is at Pittsburgh, and then you have Atlanta at Los Angeles, two teams that played last year in the playoffs. You have Cincinnati at Oakland. We just talked about that, the no-hitter last night. You have San Francisco at Colorado, Kansas City at Houston, Miami is at Chicago. You have the Angels playing at Detroit, Big C, Minnesota at Toronto. Toronto I'm telling you, it's a happening city. When you look at the success that the Raptors have had, also the Maple Leafs, and you look at how people turn out for even the Blue Jays with that beautiful stadium, you would think Canada would get another team that would come in from the NBA, maybe even Montreal if they don't want to be in Vancouver. But a city that turns out like that, I think if they call it Jurassic Park, it's hard for even baseball to compete up there when playoffs are coming on. And then you have Boston at Baltimore, Seattle at New York Yankees. And then I really love this because Chicago and Cleveland, they both start with the C in their name, Big C. So I love those two organizations. But give me your feeling again before we get into some NFL. I know I'm kind of missing it. Why, if you look at what they've done in Toronto with the Raptors and that crowd-based, what they call Jurassic Park, and you still have that great fanfare with the Blue Jays too, why there's not more talk of adding a second team to Canada just because you would monopolize Canada if you're the NBA. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you did have two teams in Canada. The Memphis Grizzlies were formerly the Vancouver Grizzlies. But because of lack of production and winning, that franchise had to move. They just could not draw in that city. And so that's one of the things you look at. And you think about Montreal, you talked about them, the Washington Nationals were the Montreal Expos.
Yeah.
And so when you think about those cities, it's hard for professional organizations to go back into cities where you've lost teams. You think about Seattle. They lost an NBA franchise that had won an NBA title.
Yeah.
So, and that's a team, if you're going to make a move back to the Northwest, you would go to Seattle first prior to going back into Canada.
Yeah.
Major League Baseball, you got to look at some of these struggling markets and ask yourself, did Montreal have a better attendance than some of these games that we've seen with less than 10,000 fans in the stadiums in multiple Major League Baseball games this year? But when you talk about cities and having fanfare, Colorado and Boston right now, Charlton, on top of the heap, you think about each one of those cities has three teams competing right now in professional sports. Colorado has the Avalanche, they have the Rockies, and they have the Nuggets. Boston has the Bruins, they have the Celtics, and they have the Red Sox.
Yeah.
So when you talk about fanfare and why teams stay solid in certain cities, look at what those three organizations are doing in those cities.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love the sports, and you're right. Fan attendance, it always makes a big difference. I know. I just talked about Dabu Sweeney was up in the game with Toronto versus Philadelphia, and I looked at Clemson's football schedule. I know I saw the Citadel on there. I thought they were playing Cal Berkeley, but no, the Citadel is going to be on their schedule for Clemson. I guess when you got $90 million, you got to play teams like the Citadel to give them some of that money. Big C, Alabama's playing New Mexico State. I think there's not even as successful as New Mexico in that great state. Give me your feeling. They know how to recruit, and I know that a lot of the players end up in the NFL, but why are they still dipping low, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, those are some of the things that are never brought up when they talk about power rankings and somebody's position at the end of the season where they rank on a national scale. Bring in those cupcake teams and talk about the strength of that part of the schedule.
Yeah.
When they're playing those teams, Charlton, they can't even win their own conference or even get in the middle of their own conference.
Yep.
Citadel and New Mexico State.
Yep.
Teams that don't go to bowl games, that are not in Power 5 conferences. I've always felt that the Power 5 conference should only play Power 5 teams.
Yeah.
You can't go out and play Division 1 AA teams and say that you're the number one team in the country, Charlton, because you played a team that personnel-wise can't even match up.
No, and they get their players hurt. Big C, I want to focus on, I know everybody's basketball-centric and they're thinking about hockey, but I want to just, run your thoughts real quick in about the next 15 minutes on some NFL action. I know we're getting warmed up, and you guys do it year-round down south. I just want to throw out some conferences and get your feeling on those conferences in the next 12 to 15 minutes. The AFC East, we have Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots, and the New York Jets. You got to read on these teams so far, Big C. Give me your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, when you talk about the AFC East, there's only one team in the AFC East, and everybody else is looking up, wanting to be like them, and that's the New England Patriots. They're the reigning Super Bowl champs, Charlton. They are the best team in the NFL. They got better in free agency and in the draft, and there's nobody in their division that's going to challenge them.
Yeah, that's a definitely. Everybody loves what Miami's trying to do, but we'll see there's still a bit of way. If we swim down to the NFC East, there's no team like the Cowboys. How about the Cowboys? But they haven't won a Super Bowl in many, many moons, Big C. But in the NFC East, Dallas Cowboys, you have Prescott and Elliott leading the way there. The New York Giants going to stick with Manning. The Eagles, Carson Wentz, can he stay healthy? And then Washington, with their great quarterback out of Ohio State, Haskins, they have a lot of promise. I really like the NFC East having two teams in the playoffs. Give me your feeling on your thoughts, Big C, on the NFC East.
Well, one of the things about pro football, Charlton, you have to be able to run the football.
Yeah.
The Washington Redskins will be able to do that. They have a three-headed monster this year in the backfield with Gillingsley, Love, and Peterson still hanging around there. But they got a young, strong-arm quarterback in Haskins out of Ohio State, Charlton, that's going to much improve their offense. Their defense is outstanding. They got another number one draft pick on defense, Montez Sweat, who went with already a stout defense that the Redskins had. They were the best team in the NFC East last year prior to Alex Smith horrific leg break that he had, Charlton.
Yeah.
And they couldn't find a quarterback to fill in after that. But now they have Dwayne Haskins, Charlton. If they take their time and groom this young man, they should dominate the NFL East once again.
Would you start him right away, or would you make him wait 5 or 6 weeks?
No, Charlton, I would start him right away. He's there. I think what you have to do is find him another solid receiver to go into the lineup. I know a lot of the pundits out there saying, well, let him sit for a year. And I think the reason they want him to sit for a year, Charlton, because the NFL doesn't want to see these young African-American quarterbacks walk in and be dominant right off the back. I mean, we saw Patrick Mahomes sit for a year, and when he stepped in after Alex Smith was traded, Charlton, he was lights on fire. Deshaun Watson, we saw what he did in his rookie year. Once he got into the lineup, he was lightning in a bottle. I feel you'll get the same thing out of Dwayne Haskins at Marion, Arizona.
Yeah, I hope you're right, Big C. I want to see him have a great career. Reminds me of a fresh new version of Doug Williams, who had 5 touchdown passes in the Super Bowl. Let's go to the AFC North. I know things have changed. They become a quarterback-centric conference now. Baltimore Ravens, I really like what they're doing with Jackson. Flacco's gone. Cincinnati Bengals. You have the Cleveland Browns, which have gotten a lot of press. We'll see what happens. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers, who got rid of 2 All-Pro players. I want to get your feeling that AFC North doesn't look as ominous as it used to look for outside teams. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I really like where Baltimore is right now. If we look at the run that they went on late last year, 7-2 under Lamar Jackson, but now he has a year under his belt where he understands NFL defenses even more. And they brought in some players to help him out. Ingram out of New Orleans, which will be a mainstay in the backfield for them, Charlton. They also drafted a couple of receivers that will really help the development of this young quarterback, Charlton. They have a tremendous offensive line, and Baltimore has always been known for their defense. I like them winning the division.
That's incredible. Let me ask you again, too much emphasis on Baker Mayfield reminds me Johnny Manziel. I say they've been treated the same media-wise. You know, Johnny Manziel had his issues. Baker Mayfield had his run-in with the law, but that's, you know, they closed the door on that really fast. And I know Tomlin sometimes I think the third active winningest coach in the NFL, really second active winningest coach with Super Bowl in the NFL. Do you think that Baker Mayfield is getting too much press, and that the media is too tough on Tomlin? Give me your feelings.
Well, you know, the media is always going to be tough on Tomlin. They've done that ever since he's been in Pittsburgh, even though he's been in a couple Super Bowls as a head coach, and he never gets the consideration for that.
Yeah.
But when I look at Cleveland, Charlton, they have too many personalities on offense. You can't have that many straws in a drink, okay?
Yeah.
Somebody's going to backwash.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. So you're going to be drinking somebody's spit. and that's what's going to happen in Cleveland, Charlton.
Yeah.
You're going to have disgruntled guys in Cleveland talking about they're not getting the ball enough. You think about the strongest part of Cleveland is their running game.
Yeah.
When you look at Nick Chubb and Duke Johnson, you got Kareem Hunt coming also, Charlton. You got to be able to run the ball in the NFL. So if you're running the ball and you're dominating a team on the ground, all those receivers are going to be sitting out there saying, why can't I catch a pass?
Yeah, why can't I catch a pass?
And so when you got certain receivers only getting thrown at 3 to 5 times during the game, that's not going to sit easy in that organization, and you're going to have a torn-up locker room, Charles.
Well, that definitely might be happening up there in that great AFC North. In the NFC North, Chicago Bears and then the Detroit Lions. We know Green Bay. A lot of the times, you don't know how people really feel about someone until they're gone. And Aaron Rodgers has thrown everybody under the bus more than he's thrown touchdown passes lately. And we know the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know what they're trying to do, getting in, you know, with the Cousins. Give me your feeling on Big C's thoughts on the NFC North and what you're expecting this year.
Well, the Vikings didn't do anything to improve themselves offensively, and that's where they struggled last year. You know, you draft the center, but he's not throwing the football, he's not catching the football. So I don't see them making any moves. The Green Bay Packers, you're looking at bringing in a new coach on an old veteran, you know, Aaron Rodgers. You know, everybody's talking about nobody can coach LeBron James. No one's saying the same thing about Aaron Rodgers.
That's true.
Yet they were saying he's the reason why Mike McCarthy got fired.
That's
because
true.
their relationship is sour.
Yeah.
I like what Nagy has done in Chicago, Charlton. Detroit is not going to do anything. They are what they are. They're the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
But Matt Nagy has the Chicago Bears on the right path. We saw the tremendous defense that they had last year, and the quarterback Trubisky made tremendous strides offensively. If he could stay on pace for what he did last season, Charlton, they'll have no problem winning the division once again.
Let's go to the AFC South. You have the Houston Texans, the Indianapolis Colts, and Luck had a great season last year. And we know Watson, he has so much prize and so much hope in him. Jacksonville Jaguars, Tennessee Titans. This is a quarterback-led division, Big C. Give me your thoughts, Big C's thoughts on the AFC South for the NFL. Your thoughts, Big C.
You talk about a bunch of cutthroats in the division, Charlton. This is most likely the best division in all of professional football when you just talk about quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Nick Foles is coming to the fold in that division down in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
We know the tremendous defensive talent that they have down in Jacksonville. They just haven't had consistency at the quarterback position. Hopefully a mature Nick Foles can provide that for the organization. We saw the growth that you had in Indianapolis last year.
Oh, yeah.
They get off to an 0-4 start, Charlton, and end up 10-6 in the playoffs. Andrew Luck is back at quarterback. Deshaun Watson, he needs a little more help in Houston at the offensive line, Charlton. That was his Achilles heel. He was sacked more than any quarterback in the NFL last year. But I like Indianapolis in this division, and I see Houston coming in second in it.
I want to get Big C's thoughts on the NFC South. We have the Atlanta Falcons, the Carolina Panthers, the New Orleans Saints, and then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's a quarterback-centric conference, that centric division, where you have so many players that are making upper echelon money, especially with Atlanta, Carolina, and New Orleans. Give me Big C's thoughts on the NFC South.
Well, the wild card in this division this year is going to be Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
You got Bruce Arians, a new coach. Jameis Winston. Will he really grow up this year in the final year of his rookie contract, or will he be looking to fulfill his career as a backup with another team? He has one last option with Bruce Arians, Charlton.
Yeah.
But they have a tremendous scoring offense. They needed some help on defense. They went out and got it in the draft. But New Orleans has been the king of this division, Charlton. They have a tremendous defense. Drew Brees can still deliver the football around the park. Michael Thomas, it's hard to cover him. Probably the second best receiver in all the NFL, even though he does not get the notoriety, Charlton, that he should. The Atlanta Falcons, they baffled everybody with their draft. You got to be able to stop people. You got one of the highest scoring offenses in pro football, and yet you go draft two offensive linemen in the first round instead of looking for some defensive help. Carolina will be dependent on the health of Cam Newton, though.
Yeah, that's true, Big C. I hope he stays healthy. Two more divisions. NFC West. Arizona Cardinals, they got the number one pick. LA Rams, can they score when it really matters if they get back to a Super Bowl? The 49ers and then the Seattle Seahawks used to be the best two teams in the NFC. Give me Big C's thoughts on the NFC West.
Well, you got the Arizona Cardinals and the San Francisco 49ers will be jockeying for last place in that division. It's a dogfight for last, and it's a dogfight for first. We saw what Seattle did with the late run in the season, making the playoffs. They've upgraded their offense. They've got some receivers and some weapons for Russell Wilson. They drafted a horde of young defensive players, Charlton, to help secure up that defense.
Yep.
Russell Wilson is now the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. But you got the Los Angeles Rams. Jared Goff made tremendous strides last year, Charlton, getting the Rams to the Super Bowl. How healthy will Todd Gurley be this year? They don't have C.J. Anderson.
No.
They get Cooper Kupp back at receiver, who was Jared Goff's go-to man until he went down with a knee injury.
Yeah.
So the Rams, I see them still winning the division, Seattle coming in second.
The AFC West is the last division. We have the Denver Broncos. They're mile high. We have the Kansas City Chiefs. Man, Patrick Mahomes, will he beat last year's performance? We have the LA Chargers in the smallest stadium in the NFL down in Carson. And then we have the Oakland Raiders will play one more season in Northern California before they go to Prop City, Las Vegas. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you look at the Denver Broncos. They traded for Joe Flacco, so they do have a quarterback in place. They most likely have the best two defensive ends in all of football in Von Miller and Bradley Chubb being on the same team, Charlton. It wouldn't be, unthought of that these two guys could get between 35 and 40 sacks as a tandem this year for the Denver Broncos. They're going to spend a lot of time on the field defensively, but their receiving core is depleted. When you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, Charlton, it's going to be amazing if, Patrick Mahomes can duplicate the numbers that he had last year.
Yep.
He's not going to have Kareem Hunt this year. He's going to be suspended by the NFL. They're going to need a receiver to step up and take his place. Will, the kid that they brought in from Buffalo, will he be able to step up and do that and earn that $65 million contract that he has? Phillip Rivers is on his last year of his contract with the LA Chargers, Charlton. But they have so many weapons. They didn't score against New England in the playoffs, but you look at the strides that Anthony Lynn had this team make last year, they could easily win the AFC West, Charlton.
Well, it's all exciting in love and war, especially football. Fresno State's going to be playing USC at the Coliseum to open up their season. Fresno State's tougher than Citadel and New Mexico State for Clemson and Alabama, so we'll see how that shapes up. Tonight, all the action is focused on Northern California. At Golden State Warriors, Houston Rockets. After 4 games, you have the Rockets-Warriors series, a classic. It really is in the making. But this game is about the prop betting, the hot shooting team. Will the Warriors, will they show up at home? Many people think so. Will Denver still play football against a track team? And if they do, will Coach Kerr sit on his hands and will he get in the official's face to call attention to it? I'm looking forward to what happens in the world of the sports universe. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, 49 years ago tonight is when we could only see the NBA Finals after the late local news. Willis Reed, the captain of the New York Knicks, entered the Game 7 against the Los Angeles Lakers, and Wilt Chamberlain's name will always pop up because he was the center for the Lakers in that game to propel the New York Knicks to their first ever NBA title. Willis Reed only scored 4 points, but he was hailed a hero by the New York fans. Even though Walt Clyde Frazier in that game, Charlton, scored 39 points and had 16 rebounds to lead the Knicks to their first NBA title.
Well, if you're thinking about titles, it all starts with winning. And winning is what they've done so many years on the West Coast, from the 49ers and Raiders and the Giants and now the Warriors. It's so much that's happening that I'm looking forward to. And you can look forward to it too every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.